Thank you very much. I'm very, very happy to be here. It's an extra treat to be able to have my wife, Rosie, and our son, Bivian the fourth, with us. He's behaved himself, which is great. And this is such a beautiful community. I mean, just being here 24 hours, I mean, we've really enjoyed it. Talking to the people on the roads, it's been really great. I want to thank Stacy and his wife, Evie, for having us here, and from New Orleans, supporters of our work. Thank you for hosting us. A round of applause for them, for sure. And Olivia and Wellham, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure being at the African American House, and I really hope that everyone goes to visit the house soon, because it is great, and have a chance to talk with you all. It's been awesome. Thank you, Roger, also for playing tennis with me this morning. That was great. I appreciate that, too. Thanks for taking it easy on me. But we're here to talk about the transformational work of Son of a Saint. And we are a program in New Orleans, but I think that this work and the care that we give it should be all over the world. And I'll run through what I'm the sort of flow. I'll talk a little bit about my upbringing to give you a glimpse of why I was inspired to start this work. Then I'll talk about the origins of Son of a Saint. And then I'll talk a little bit about the boys and the results, okay? And I'll start this speech by giving a background about my father. My father was from Austin, Texas. His mother was an educator, but also led the choir, Baptist church. His father, my grandfather, worked at Bell South, so he was an only child. And he was very rambunctious, mischievous one. But he was very, very athletic. And he played basketball, he played football. When he got to college, he played at Prairie View, small SWAC college out in Texas, HBCU. And he excelled there. He was an All-American quarterback. And his senior year, he had to convert to defensive back because his coach pulled him to the side and said, "Son, if you want to make it to the NFL and get drafted, you can't as a quarterback. You're black. They're not gonna draft you." So his senior year, he converted, and he got drafted in 1971 with the New Orleans Saints. And that year, Archie Manning was drafted as well. Archie was drafted the first round, my father the third round. And my father played 5 years in the NFL. He excelled. He led the Saints in interceptions in 72 and 73. They weren't that good back then, but I'll say he was the shining star of the team, I'd say. But then he met my mother. He retired in 75 and met my mother. My mother is from New Orleans. My family graduated she graduated from Xavier University out in New Orleans. My uncles as well. It's a black Catholic university in New Orleans. They met, they fell in love. Then several years later, they had my sister and I. I was born in 1981. And in 1984, two days after my third birthday, I heard a loud thump. And I remember my sister was kind of running towards me, and all I can remember is walking down the stairs, or I don't know. I mean, I was 3 years old. And I remember there was a light in the hallway, and my dad was just staring at me, wide-eyed, taking his last breath. And that was my earliest memory. That's where life started for me, was my father passing away, the chaos that followed, the maroon color of the carpet at the funeral. And from that point on, it was me, my mom, my sister, my grandmother, my aunt. There was a lot of women in my life, right? A lot of women who cared for me, loved me. I grew up in a safe environment, a loving home. Education was preached. I was an altar server. I did well in school. But I had my own challenges, right? I needed my dad there for me when I had my first crush in 6th grade, right? I wanted my dad there. You know, I asked him a question on how do you handle these things. That following year in 7th grade, I was at a predominantly white school, and there were kids that were picking on me because I was black, and they were calling me the N-word every day. And I remember probably 3 weeks in, a month in, I was in the hallway, and they just kept saying the N-word at me. And it felt like there were 1,000 people. I didn't know how to handle it. All I did was fight. So I got in 4 fights, and they got in 1 fight with me, and I got expelled. I got kicked out roughly a month or 2 in going to that school. And I just remember thinking, I wish Dad was here. I wish like I had somebody that could really defend me, right? And I wound up going to a different school in high school. I went to an all-black high school called St. Aug. And I don't know if you all are familiar with St. Aug. John Baptiste graduated from there. It's an all-black Catholic private school in New Orleans. I got a lot of guidance there. There was the first time that I was around black men that I could emulate, that held me accountable. We got paddled. It was corporal punishment, by the way. So they don't have it there anymore. But I had to wear a tie every day. I had to wear military boots. I was in honors. I excelled. But I also needed my father there when I remember I had a flat tire my junior year. And I was so embarrassed because I didn't know how to change my tire. I was like, man, I know somebody knows how to. So I called my friend Brandon Felton. He was my classmate. He sat right next to me. I trusted him. I said, Brandon, can you help me? I'm embarrassed. I don't want to tell my other friends I don't know how to change a flat tire. So I learned how to change one by my friend, Brandon, right? He was there for me. That theme sort of played out in high school is a lot of my friends felt like brothers to me, older brothers. They learned from their fathers, and they taught me a lot. Fast forward a little bit, going to and selecting my college. I selected the University of New Orleans. I wanted to stay home. All my friends went to HBCU. They went to Florida A&M. I still have my acceptance letter. But I was a mama's boy, so I stayed home, right? I needed my father during that decision as well. A couple years later, I needed him when I was going through some depression and anxiety. I wound up getting some professional help and got through it, but I sat out of college for a couple years. I needed him then. During my professional years, and I was, I guess, 21 at the time, you know, you're kind of thrown out. You have to be a man. There's no excuses at this point, right? Nobody cares if you grew up without your dad or how you grew up, really. And so I just remember having this sort of awareness that, all right, I've got to soak in every single thing from older males who I respect and try to create this master male that would be my father's age, right? And that's what I did. I started working for the New Orleans Zephyrs AAA baseball team, and I went in early. I was the last one to leave, and that wound up, the GM nominated me for the job with the owner of the Saints. He was looking for a chief aide. I was 24 at the time. And when I tell you that experience was definitely transformational for me, I was in a support role, but I was soaking up every single thing that I was seeing, that I was learning, that I was, the connections that I was making. He was in his 80s at the time, felt like a father to me, a grandfather, a mentor. Maybe he knew it at the time, but I needed that. I needed that experience. And you can probably understand all the things that I was seeing going, the private jets, the yachts, the relationship with the players, going on the fields. There was no limit. He didn't have any limit. Everything opened up for him. And I was right next to him, and a lot of times I was helping to open those doors up for him, right? I was the lead guy, the logistics guy. It was fun. After I left there, I worked in jazz. I worked to help bring jazz education to communities around the world. When the New Orleans Jazz Orchestra would play, I would make sure that there were opportunities for youth to see it in the community. And we would commission artists, musicians. We had a Saturday music school to teach kids how to play. So my 20s was great for me. And I remember when I was 29, this was in December of 2010, after a Saints game, actually. My sister and I were having a glass of wine downtown on the rooftop looking at the Superdome. We were visiting with a friend. And I looked down at my phone, and on the news it said a 16-year-old boy murdered another boy. I said, wow, you know. And if you know anything about New Orleans, we're the murder capital, you know, for a long time. And I said, Tamika, there's got to be something that I can do. I did some mentorship before with a couple groups. I said, I was raised all right? We were both raised well, you know, a couple jokes between she and I. But I said, how do I duplicate what my mom gave us and give that to boys that are in need? I did some research, and each of those boys lost their fathers in prison. And their fathers lost their fathers. You see where I'm going here? It's a trend. Fathers aren't at home. But also there's poverty and there's trauma. And I said, if we can get them in a preventative space before they reach 13, 14, 15, and work with them for a long period of time, we may be able to do something for them, right? And I will admit this was a little therapy for me because I didn't want the boys to grow up not reaching their full potential. And I missed out on one thing. When I was a freshman at St. Aug, I was going out for the football team. And my father didn't want me to play football, by the way. He hated that because of his experience. But my mom said, go out, and I went out. So third game, I'm a defensive back, like my dad. And a guy caught the ball on me, and he ran for the touchdown. And I don't know what happened at that time, but I never played another down of football in my life. I went over to my mom, and she said, don't worry, baby, you're all right, right? And I say that because had my dad been there, I'm sure he would have been like, go back out there. You understand? I wasn't this big at that time. I didn't have my growth spurt till senior year. But that was what I was missing, and maybe my life would have been a little bit different, but I think I'd still be doing this work. So I started forming this nonprofit called Son of a Saint. I did not have connection to boys at all. So I went to the park where I played baseball when I was young, and I tapped a coach on the shoulder, Coach Williams. I didn't know him. I said, hi, my name is Sonny, and I want to support boys growing up without their fathers. Do you have boys here that can use that help? He immediately grabbed 5 boys. Their moms were working concession, the boys were playing. Those are the first 5 boys in Son of a Saint. And then we started working. I would bring them to the University of New Orleans where I had space. I would teach them how to tie a tie. I'd tell them about manners. I would give them the exposure that I was given. I just started working, just doing action every Saturday. I had mental health services when I was growing up, so I helped provide some of that for them. But the challenge and the beauty of it is that we were successful and we were growing. And so people wanted to learn more, and we had to grow, right? So I added more boys, added 10 more boys, and then 10 more. Well, we wound up having, over 10 years, about 100 boys in our program, right? And I was a nonprofit leader trying to raise money, trying to do everything that we could do for our boys. And in 2020, we bought a building, a one-stop shop for them. And I'll tell you a little bit about who the boys are. Out of our 500 boys, 70% of them have lost their fathers to violence. About 20% have lost their fathers to long-term incarceration, over 15 or more years left to serve. And we have a small handful of boys that have lost their fathers to a natural cause or a car accident. Our boys do not have fathers that are in their home or much male guidance in their lives before they reach Son of a Saint. When they join at age 10, roughly age 10 to 12 is our sweet spot, They're provided with a mentor, which is the heart of our organization. The mentors provide guidance for them. We ask them for a year commitment, but we try to hook them for a lifetime commitment, which we do pretty well at, I think. And we make it easy. I remember my experiences working with other groups. It was difficult. It was hard. I didn't have all the resources that I needed to really mentor the boys. I didn't realize that our boys are dealing with much different and harder circumstances than I ever was. I came from a privileged background, even though I didn't have my father. Our boys are trying to navigate abuse, trauma, food insecurities, how to get from point A to point B, education challenges. I didn't have to worry about that, and I felt how hard it is for me. So I had to have a lot of empathy and a lot of understanding for our boys and learn from them. Outside of the mentorship, we have group activities. We have over 40 group activities a month, from equine therapy to sailing to comedy club to culinary, you name it. A lot in our building and a lot outside of our building. We're in 90 different schools, 24 different zip codes. We provide transportation for our boys, which is the biggest challenge for mentorship groups, is getting boys to and from services. But I think we've been able to solve that. We provide mental health services all in-house. We have mental health services that provide help for our boys and the mothers, the guardians, the aunts, the grandmothers that are supporting them. There's individual and group sessions. There's school support for issues that affect their mental health. We also have the educational support. We call them success coaches. They provide school support and advocacy, workforce, internship exploration, tutors for our boys. I had tutors growing up my mom provided. Well, we provide that for our boys. We make sure they know how to read and write, that they can communicate well. Travel is another aspect of our program. The boys age 10 to 14, and boys are with us from age 10 to 21, by the way. It's a long period of time that each boy is with us. Boys don't leave Son of a Saint. We've had 2 move, and guess what? One of them actually, he's in the military. He just joined the military last week. He graduated from a high school out in Texas, and his mentor from New Orleans stayed with him this whole time. We don't kick boys out. I wouldn't kick my own son out, right? Maybe. I don't know if he's acting up. He seems to be all right, though. But that's our commitment to them. That's our commitment to the boys. So the boys aged 10 to 14, they travel. They have travel experiences. They go to camps across the country. We're very fortunate to be able to have partners that believe in our work, that live outside New Orleans. We have about 103 of our boys that are in camps right now in New Hampshire, Asheville, North Carolina, Indianapolis, Houston, Denver. They're out there forming relationships with other boys, and I think it's great for boys out there to have a relationship with a New Orleans boy. I think that's magical, right? Because they'll be able to come to New Orleans and experience our great city. But boys are fishing, right? They're ziplining. They're playing with animals and fish and snakes and all the things. They're learning how to work together, make fires, you know. These are things that they wouldn't be having at home in New Orleans. They'd be worried about different things. Casework. Every boy has a case manager when he comes to Son of a Saint that overlooks the whole family, understands all the ins and outs, and works with the rest of our team to ensure his success. There's obviously college exploration and career development as well. I'll tell you about 2 boys in our program, similar but different in ways. One of our boys is named Kennard. And Kennard, when he was 12 years old, he joined Son of a Saint. And what happened to him before he was 12 was when he was around 9 years old. There was a drive-by shooting in New Orleans, and his 5-year-old cousin, Brianna, was standing next to him and died. He was also shot during that time. Fast forward a year later, there was a Mother's Day shooting in New Orleans where somebody shot into a crowd and hit 20 people during a celebration, actually. Kennard was hit there also. Kennard was actually shot a couple more times after that, just by where he lived, and being at the wrong place at the wrong time. Kennard's father was murdered in prison, or was lost. His uncles, a few of them were arrested by a Son of a Saint mentor who was a U.S. Marshal, because where they lived was the drug house. So there's a lot of connectivity there with that. But then he had a wonderful teacher in 7th grade. Her name was Rosie. Hey, Rosie. Who came into my life and came into Son of a Saint that believed in Kennard. And then we had a couple great mentors, Lon and Mr. Allen. They bought houses directly next to Kennard. Lon raised his family there. Allen was single, but had his house and would check in often for Kennard. Kennard was trying everything to run away from us when he was 15. The streets were calling him. They were pulling him away from us. So we had to make a decision. What do? Do we chase, or do we let him figure it out? Through some time, I'm happy to say that Kennard works for Son of a Saint. He's 23 years old. He's a family man now. He has a daughter and a beautiful family. There was a lot of challenges that happened within those from 15, 16 up to 23. But we didn't forget about Kennard. Kennard stuck with us. And Kennard is going to have a bright, bright future. That's our commitment. And Son of a Saint, once you're in Son of a Saint, you're in forever. I'll talk about another guy, Miles. Miles was part of that first group of boys in Son of a Saint. At the time, we were accepting boys where their fathers just weren't around, right? And that's what happened with him. His father wasn't around, but he was taking advantage of every single opportunity that Son of a Saint provided him. Every one of them. He came to everything for 8 years. I called the Congressman Richmond, and I said, can you nominate Miles for West Point? Absolutely, without a doubt. Miles just graduated from West Point this year in May. I went to his graduation. He played football. He was a running back on the football team, right? I saw his dad at the graduation for the first time. Isn't that interesting, how that works? I had a lot of emotion going on. I was upset, had a few words that I did not share. But my mom taught me to respect everybody, right? So I sat and I just, had a conversation. Miles said that one time he went to his dad's house. It was one time over the many years he was invited by. And his dad's wife at the time wouldn't let him use the bathroom inside the house. He had to stay outside. Isn't that interesting? You go to your father's house, you see him for the first time, and you're not allowed to use the bathroom inside. These are challenges that our boys face. 95% of our boys are boys of color in New Orleans. We accept any boy, whether you're black, white, any background. It doesn't even have to be poverty. You just be growing up without a father. But 95% of our families, most of our families are making under $30,000 a year. That's the makeup of them. I'm proud to say that 100% of our boys have graduated high school, 80% are going on to college, 20% the workforce. We have not had teen pregnancy in 14 years. I think that is a huge accomplishment. And at the end of the day, if our boys are not self-sufficient, then we have not done our work, right? That is the end goal. They have to be self-sufficient, and we have to break this cycle of fatherlessness, of violence, of poverty in our community. And it is action that has led us to this. That's all the policy. Yeah, we need that. But for me, this has been therapy for me. This is my way of giving back, has been to inspire a group of mentors, inspire a group of supporters, and find the boys to support and bridge that gap. And I think we've been pretty successful in doing that. And this work could be done anywhere across the world because there's kids in need. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonny, for the work that you do and for the lives that you touch. We're going to take questions now. If you have not sent your questions, please send them in via the website, or if you need to write them, please write them. And this goes to questions@chq.org. So the first question. Can you tell us more about the mentors? Who are they, and how do you find them? That's your first question.
Yeah. We find our mentors through word of mouth. In New Orleans, we have some great partners that help us. I mean, a lot of folks know about Son of a Saint in New Orleans, but we use our current mentors to recruit new ones. And a lot of times, if you're a good mentor, you might get a second or third child to help support. We have a couple of those situations. I would say about our mentors are either they don't have kids or their kids are out the house. Those are usually our mentors. So younger, older, we have 53% of, I think, our mentors are white. I think about 38% are black, and the rest of them.
Quick follow-up on that. The mentors that you have, how long generally do they stay? What's the residual?
Yeah, so most of the mentors, we have a group mentor option, and then we have the one-on-one. The one-on-ones are a lot longer. Those one-on-ones, I mean, they'll last, it's hard to even give a number, 6 years, 5, 6 years, but a lot of them last a longer time. The group mentorship, usually those are ones that come in who maybe they're from out of town, maybe they might move later on. They're a part of our group activities. They'll be a part with us for a long time as well, but on average, probably 2-3 years for the group mentors.
Okay.
We have 200 mentors, by the way.
Second question, what transformations have you seen in yourself after starting Son of a Saint?
Wow. So I mentioned earlier I didn't have a lot of experiences. I didn't have many, obviously with my father, but there were a lot of things that I wanted to do that I didn't do when I was younger. I didn't catch a fish until I started Son of a Saint.
Wow.
I didn't know, you think about tools, right? I mean, any guys that have grown up without dad or male influence, you have to teach yourself how to build things. That's the toughest thing, right? But we took classes on that with our boys. So now I know how to be a handy guy, right? So some of those things that I believe traditionally a father would teach his son, I learned through the program as an adult, which helped build a lot of confidence within myself as well. But running a nonprofit is difficult. I've talked about the program, but in general, running a nonprofit, it's a business, right? Obviously, the money goes to our boys, but, I had to learn. I never saw my mom write a check. I never saw her pay a bill. I was at school, right? So all the finances, and I had to learn all that. And I went to school, sure, but application is different, So I would just say being an adult is what I learned. I had a lot more confidence in myself running this program.
Okay. Have you considered helping young girls within the program?
I don't think my sister's starting Daughter of a Saint anytime soon, but we've been asked that question since day one, and I think the beauty of Son of a Saint is that we have stayed targeted our mission on boys, really. We haven't veered from that. It's what I know. It's what I know best. And so we're going to continue that way. We do support other girl-led organizations that are supporting girls. We have a program called Son of a Saint and Friends where we collaborate with them to help girls. But as far as a primary mission, it's going to stay supporting boys.
Wow,
Yep.
that's fantastic. I won't read all of this, but the main part of the question is, do you fear boys' involvement with the military may work counter to this focus on nonviolence?
Great question. We haven't gotten there yet. I think we have our first boys that are going to the military. It's something that I'm thinking about right now as this question is being asked, to be honest with you. But they have chose that life of service to our country, and so I will support them if they need me to, and they need us to, and that would be my answer.
Okay. This is more of a statement, but I'll just get it out now because it's pretty good. Hope that you have spoken with our senior pastor, Bishop Eugene Sutton, who started a program in Baltimore called Sutton, I think that's Scholars, through the Episcopal Diocese. So I can tell you a little bit about Eugene later, but
Perfect.
Wanted to let you know that. You mentioned transportation was an issue, now solved. How does the logistics work to get boys to you?
So we have a logistics manager, and he has a logistics assistant under him. And our team, the case managers, know our families, and they request rides. They have a scheduled out. Things are scheduled, programming, and then we also have things that come up last minute. So they'll put in their request. We have 7 drivers. They're part-time drivers. They come in around 2 o'clock. We have several vehicles, and so they just disperse, and they grab the boys and bring them to the office. So we don't have all 500 that come to the office every day. We might have 60, you might have 80, you might have 20, just depending on what the activity is that day. But there's a lot of support that happens outside of our building that the mentors are taking their boys to. So we also rely on the mentors, and we also have volunteer drivers. So we have roughly about 20 volunteer drivers that also pick up the boys and work on the weekends as well. And it's all organized and led by our logistics manager.
Okay, I live in Lafayette, LA, and I belong to an organization that is working to change the mindset of Lafayette citizens, especially to inform them on the continuing racial divide. Have you seen impact on racial prejudices? And I don't know the last word, but that's good.
The question is there,
basically,
the middle part
have you seen an impact probably in what you're doing?
Yep.
And one of the things you talked about was the racism that you faced as a kid and not having anyone to really protect you. Have you seen an impact in what you're doing or in that area?
I think it's been bridging the gap, to be honest with you, because we do have a lot of mentors, like I said, that are white. We have our mentees that predominantly black. We have white boys in the program. We have, and that relationship has been great. We went to Ghana. Well, I didn't go, but I sent some of our mentors out there through a grant we got from a group out in New York. And we had 2 of our boys that would probably never go to Africa, go out there with the rest of our group. And it was the best could have ever happened, Our boys that may go to predominantly white schools, we have to sometimes have those conversations with them and be advocates for them in school so that kids aren't mean. But I would say more than anything, it's been a diverse group of folks that are in our office, and it's been supportive in every way. I haven't seen a lot of challenges race-wise with people that have come in our office from adults to youth. We did poll our moms and ask them if they wanted a certain type of mentor, whether it be a black mentor, and they said overwhelmingly, I don't care, I just need a male to mentor my son.
Will you accept boys without mothers?
That's never come up in Son of a Saint. We wouldn't because they would have a father, so our program is built around the father not being at home.
Primary source of funding, where's your primary source?
So most of it is individuals, overwhelmingly family foundations. Next would be corporate. It's kind of split 40-40, and then the other one would be some grants that we get. We don't get any federal funding or really state funding. It's more individuals that believe in our work.
Okay. This is a very important one. How can everyone help fund Son of a Saint?
Is it fund, you said?
Yes,
Fund.
fund.
Well, I would say definitely go on our website. It's a great website, I would say, and it has a lot of information. I would say get my information down if you'd like. I'm happy to share that with you as well. There's many ways that somebody can support Son of a Saint, from small to large. I would say, send us some snacks from Amazon to our office because our boys like to eat, and I said that yesterday, but it's very true. We love getting packages from afar. Sending in a book that you think our boys would like for our library is always great. If you want to sponsor a kid to go to summer camp, we also take that as well. Those experiences are really, really good for our boys. And, a lot of times we had those opportunities because somebody on our board or somebody that was already funders may have gone to that camp when they were younger, and they just asked the camp, hey, I have a group out in New Orleans. Would you be willing to accept a couple kids or sponsor a couple kids? You can fund it that way. Then maybe you're supporting where you went to camp, but also supporting Son of a Saint kids to go there. Look, it's $150,000 a year for a boy to be in jail. If I was a boy in Louisiana, or an adult, I should say. It costs about $20,000 for Son of a Saint a year, right? And I would say that's on the cheap side. We just started so you can sponsor a boy a year. We also started an endowment last year from a supporter out in New York to help sustain us. So from snacks to camps to sponsoring a boy to endowment, it's all in between. We need everything and all support. Yep.
For those who support parental choice / vouchers for public school, what thoughts can you share, and/or what would you change about the education system to support these young men?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. I come from Catholic private school, but a lot of our boys are in the charter school system in New Orleans. We don't really have public school. I mean, public school system in New Orleans after Katrina really died out. We support school choice for our boys, the opportunity for them to attend a school that fits them the best way. We also have we also send about we send about 350 boys to tuition-based school based off of special state tax credit opportunity we have in Louisiana. So we're one of 4 organizations that can do that, basically utilizing somebody's state tax credit and going directly to the school. So I'm a supporter of, like I said, school choice. In New Orleans, unfortunately, I wish the schools were a little bit better, to be honest with you. And so our job is to just teach them or enroll them in schools that fit them the best.
Okay. The question is, how do you mentor or teach the boys to respond to being called the N-word or any other name calling?
Yeah, so, man, that's a great question. I think it's not just the N-word. It's, that word carries a lot of power and weight, but somebody being mean is similar, right? I mean, it's our boys being bullied, and so we talk about being bullied. It's a form of bullying. And so we have a lot of sessions about that. We actually have a 6-week course on bullying about our boys, and we want to ensure that they're not doing the same thing, obviously, to others. But there's steps that they have to take in reaction to not only that, but other things as well related to it.
And I'm going to tag on that it's just as important that we teach all of our children not to say that word. And then we don't have to teach our children how to deal with that word or any other bullying. That's all of our responsibility. Do you reach out to schools, teachers about adverse child experience? Do you reach out to schools to teach teachers about adverse childhood experiences?
Do I reach out to the teachers to
Yeah.
teach them about that?
So I guess if the students are
Yeah, they are, and a lot of them already are aware of that. But our case managers do have great relationships with the teachers, and we have relationships with almost every school in New Orleans. And so we do have those conversations specifically about our boys and the challenges that they're going through.
And I guess the follow-up was, do you assist those students and those teachers in using your mentors to do that?
We do.
Okay. Are any other communities conducting similar programs?
I would not like Son of a Saint, and I'm just going to be honest with you. I've been around a lot of mentorship groups. We all want the same results. We just go about it different. We're super targeted on that age range of 10 to 12, on that specific type of boy that unfortunately may live a life of despair, may have their freedom taken, hurt somebody else, depression, anxiety, a whole list of things. But there are great groups out there, but for us, we feel like we do stand alone in the mentorship space because we're more than mentorship. It's really a long-term, dedicated focus. And so, yeah. And we also present at the national mentoring conferences and everything, and we have folks from across the country that come to New Orleans to learn our model. We also have some very well-known groups that you all know that have, upwards of 200 locations across the country that want us to show them how to do this work and expand. So I won't list who that is, but there is a deep level of attention on our work.
How key is your programs that assist the parent, usually moms, of the boys with mental health and other issues?
Yeah, so we have our mental health team that does they do an intake on the boys and the family, do a questionnaire intake, monitor the family every 2 months. We do a six-week session with them and then monitor them every two months after that. We hold group sessions for the moms as well. Our mental health counselors lead that. And if anything comes up crisis-related, we're there, by the way. So the boys don't live at our house, but it is 24-hour support, by the way. So it could be 2 a.m. in the morning. We have somebody on call to help support, not only the boy, but the guardian as well.
Last question, I think, or almost. You clearly have a lot of volunteers. What staff, if any, does SOS have? And I'm not sure
Son of a Saint, yeah. We have about 40 staff members. Mostly in the programming side, but we do have, accountant operations team as well. We have a small development team, and we have a creative team as well.
Okay. Congratulations. And then have you been asked by policy people to scale up your program?
We have. The policy advocacy side, we haven't really got into yet. That is something that we are reviewing now as part of our strategic plan, our 1, 3, and 5-year plan, which we just started about a month ago. I've been super focused on action, on actually doing the work. So it's a little different for me to be in the advocacy side, I guess, or the policy side, but I know we do have great attention on us and be able to really help change some things. So that will probably happen at some point, but we have to look at in which way that does. But we are asked to grow and scale, but our focus is New Orleans. We still have a lot of work to do in New Orleans, and hopefully others will be inspired to do this work in their towns, and we can hopefully teach them and be a part of it.
Last question. What is your hope for the future for your organization, not only now and in the next 10 years, but past when you're not here anymore?
Yeah. Well, I said this yesterday. I would just hope 100, 200 years from now, if a boy is growing up flawless in these circumstances, they have a son of a saint that they can that can support them. That's one. And literally in New Orleans, that they have a son of a saint that they can use. I mean, the other part is that, you know, there is no need because we've been able to break all the cycles, right? I mean, that's a dream within itself. And I think it's one that can happen, too. I really do. I think I'm very, very optimistic about the future of New Orleans, our state, region, in this country, to be honest with you, with caring for young people. They are the future. And Son of a Saint, I think, is hopefully it's a major part of that, along with collaborative efforts with other groups.
We want to thank you again for your presentation, the work that you do in your organization, and we hope that this will bring a lot more focus on what you do in support of that.
Thank you very much, everybody.
And for my